Welcome to the coffee talk with salty Vixen's flair. Dive into deep thoughts, no topics to air.
Welcome to Salty Vixen's Coffee Talk, a place where I talk about what is on a Salty Vixen's mind. I'm an author, I'm a musician, and a mother, and I am the founder of Salty Vixen brand. Today's episode is titled, We Are at War Against Wokeism. Yes, I said that correctly. War against the insane. War against people who do not listen but love to argue. And they'll argue with a rock if they could. Oh my God, it's insane. Have you seen the videos that's going around on a daily basis, actually by hour, by minute? Videos of women shaving their hair due to the fact Trump is president. Women who have started this cult to not have sex for 4 years because Trump is president. People crying into their cameras. I'm sorry, not crying, screaming into their cameras like crazy hyenas. All because Trump is president. And people that are stating Trump is taking women's rights away, which we know is bullshit. But for some odd reason, this woke ideology, these people are thinking, hey, mainstream media said this, it's got to be true. And what did not help was Harris and Biden fed into the woke world. Very dumb of them. Which is also why Harris did not win becoming president. My 17-year-old daughter asked me the other day, Mom, why did you vote for Trump? Don't you want a woman president? I said, well, of course I want a woman president. Who doesn't? But I don't want someone like Harris who is feeding into woke ideology, who is feeding into the insane, who really need to get some, the people that need to get some help mentally. Why would I feed into that? Why would I vote for a woman who is currently vice president, who's made America a laughing stock in the world? All Biden and Harris had to do was continue what Trump was doing when he was president to keep the economy amazing and powerful. But no, they made stupid decisions and fed into the woke world. And it's sad and disgusting. So yes, my friends, we are at war against woke ideologies. We are sinking, and we are sinking fast, in a quagmire of progressive liberalism. And woke ideology has no place in our society. And I think that's a great way to say it. I think we all can agree with that. The metastasis of the woke ideology is the most comprehensive threat facing the world. As if out of a dystopian novel, though the woke ideology has become the unifying creed of American ruling class. Governmental authorities and corporations now coordinate in enforcing the new secular progressive faith. Italian Marxist theorist Antonio Gramsci said, "It's long march through the institutions." And let's not mince these words. This is Marxism. As Israeli political theorist Yoram Hazony carefully outlined in an essay several years ago, the new Marxists do not use the technical jargon that was devised by the 19th century communists, but their politics are based on Marxist framework for critiquing liberalism. Now, at the crosshairs of all this is our children and grandchildren who are being exposed at a very tender age to things like transgenderism. Look, I have trans friends and friends who are LGBTQ+, who think the same way, and that is woke has gone too far. Look at all the videos across the internet. People crying because Trump won, people shaving their heads, or a movement to not have sex for years. Kamala Harris was not right in the head when she focused her campaign on woke ideology. And she did. I remember her going on TV going, what is a woman? Yes, for the longest time we were mocking, as conservative people were mocking how bad this thing about questioning, what is a woman? How do you find a woman? And people like Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire made videos talking about, we need to explain what a woman is to the woke world. Well, they did not need to explain it. Oh no. They are marketing off of that. My website, Salty Vixen Stories, originally was a digital magazine, and it had an article about what is a woman. Now, if you go to my site, it's focusing on spicy stories because, well, sex sells, and I had to focus on that for, well, my own financial gain. I'm a full-time single mother, so I got to do what I got to do to make money, right? Because the world is a business transaction. There's no other way to say it. So while we're questioning what a woman is, and then we are bringing the the idea is that it's okay for men who are dressing like women, and I'm not against that. I mean, be you, do you, shine. But they're dressing like women, but wearing clothes that should be on the red light district. Very skimpy, parading around, and these woke parents are bringing their children who know nothing about the world to this because they want their children to know it's okay to be trans. Well, yeah, it is. But they don't need to be exposed to men's things down there being hung out. I'm sorry. Now, there are men out there who dress like women. Oh my God, they're freaking beautiful. And I see them on Instagram. I follow some of them. In fact, I got some makeup tips from them when I actually put makeup on. Blair White. You know, that's a guy who became a woman. And I love Blair White. I love Blair White's podcast and her YouTube channel. She's conservative. And she talks about transgenderism. And she talks about you should not get it done as a child or as a teenager. And these parents who think it's okay to give kids hormone blockers because that child saw something in the media. Say, hey, I'm a girl, I was born a chick, but I feel like being a guy. Okay, let's give you hormone blockers, puberty blockers, or whatever it is, right? And they don't think about the damage that's being done. And the sad part is there are doctors saying there's no damage. In fact, my 17-year-old and I were discussing this about a week ago. And she said, Mom, hormone blockers don't cause damage. I'm like, yes, it does. Kids can be, if you're using as a kid or a teenager who is starting puberty and you start taking that because you have this trend in your mind because you're confused. I mean, I'm a woman. I remember my junior year of high school, I was driving down the road around 13 Mile in Michigan. I was like, that woman's pretty. Am I bisexual? How many of you men out there thought that, that guy's good looking? Am I bi? And women too. We've all been there. You're not going to say it out loud, but yes, we've all been there. Have I gone further in that thought? No. Because this is not the woke mind. This is just human nature. You see something pretty or good looking, you're going to say it. It doesn't mean you're attracted to them. Or maybe it's the thought like, wow, I love what they're wearing. You know, Beyonce, she looks great. But the woke ideology, when you say, wow, she looks great, the woke people say, oh, you're attracted to Beyonce. Hey, dude, you're now a chick. Or if boys play with Barbie dolls, the woke parents are stating to their sons, you know what? You're a girl. You will start school as a girl. What's your girl name you want? These 5 and 6-year-old boys don't know better. They just like playing with Barbie. And girls who are teenagers who think they're dudes just because of the internet told them so, or because these woke teachers, which by the way, wokeism does not belong in the schools, in my opinion, I think a lot of people agree with me, who start thinking, gee, I feel like a boy. Maybe I'm a boy. Well, newsflash, you're actually a tomboy. And I was a tomboy. I climbed the trees. I had more guy friends than gal friends. But guess what? At the end of the day, I'm a woman. And I'm proud of being a woman. I got 2 beautiful kids. The only thing that's missing is, while being divorced for so long, is finding that spouse, the happily ever after person. But yeah, I mean, this is something that needs to be talked about more and more because as the platform continues to grow on social media, so does the insane. And since Trump was declared president, winning again the election, these woke people have gone insane in the membrane. I've already talked a little bit about it in the beginning of this podcast. But there have been articles where people have, what's a good word you can say on a podcast platform, have hurt another person in a very bad way because the other person voted for Trump. What is wrong with these people? When will it end? Why are the woke people not thinking logically? Well, the answer is simple. Woke represents a war on truth. And us conservatives, and well, Democrats included, at least the more conservative Democrats, need to wage a war on woke. We need to fight back, but it's hard when the media and people like Don Lemon, former Presidents Bill Clinton and Obama, Oprah, and the women from The View think woke world is a good thing. Why? Because woke ideology sells. It is marketable. And the world is a business, like I said earlier, and the world profits off of stupid things. You ever see on, TikTok and Instagram, the influencers? There are genuine amazing influencers out there. And there are some you're like, why? Because stupid sells. at the end of the day, it sells. Just like me writing erotica, sex always sells. Now, you may not agree with it. Hell, I don't agree with it. But as a single mother full-time who can't work a 9-to-5 job in an office because I have a daughter who is bipolar, because both my kids, and I have a 13-year-old son who is, the school gets out at 4:30, so I'm a, carpool mom on top of that. I have to make sure my kids have a well-balanced meal and cook for them. I have to make sure that we have bills paid. And also, I want to be a mom in their lives. Yes, the dad is around, but I have my kids 100% full-time. And growing up, my grandparents had raised me, and I was lucky because my grandmother was a housewife. Although she wore the pants in the family and she had an evil eye, trust me, you did not want to get on her bad side. She knew. If you were lying, she would know. That evil eye was seeing through your soul. But as a result, I had stability. Yes, both my parents were divorced. My mom could not be the mom she wanted to be because she was bipolar. And bipolar wasn't a thing to talk about. Mental health wasn't a thing to talk about growing up in the 50s and 60s and 70s, even since the beginning of time. Why do you think drinking was on the rise? Why do you think people walked out of their house when there was an argument happening and went to the bar? I'm talking about in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. Alcoholism was on a rise. And if we had known about mental health, we would know what to do. In fact, there's one facility up in Traverse City, Michigan. It's closed. It was an asylum, founded in the 1800s. And now you can go there for tours, and I think they have it open for events or whatever. Well, back in the day, when someone had to do a dry out, they would go there. And what was taught to the people was gardening and painting and how to be resourceful in life. So when you feel a trigger happening, you go to the arts, you go to the writing and the painting and the music and etc., right? What happened to that idea? That's long gone. When I'm stressed out, I write both words and music. I draw, and that helps. My daughter, who is bipolar, when she feels the trigger coming on, and it's been helping her, is we do ASMR. I tell her, go do what you love. So she loves music, and she loves her painting. And her drawings are beautiful. And she could be an amazing artist in the future. Oh my gosh, if she had an art gallery, she would do amazing at it. I'm proud of her. And it's been helping her. And she's gotten so much better at it. When she's recognizing it, she goes, Mom, I feel the trigger's coming on. I need a timeout. That's the words we use. I need a timeout. And she would go into a room and she'll start drawing for hours. And she makes those beautiful drawings. Oh, I'd love to show you all. I mean, she is incredibly talented. When I was a kid growing up, when my mother would come over and she was on her high horse, as we call it, and my mom and grandma were at it, my grandfather would turn off his hearing aid and I would go into my room and I would take out sheet music and just start composing. In fact, I composed my very first symphony, For the Love of Music. And a really kick-ass intro percussion. Oh, I loved it. I still have it, never did anything with it. I was gifted at that, but it helped me soothe. And when I got divorced, writing helped me get over all that depression. Because mental health, regardless if you are a sane person or not, it's there. And we need to talk about it more. And the worst thing you can tell somebody is get over it, to move on. And it eats somebody up. You have to be able to talk about it. Even if you moved on from it, if a trigger happens, let's say you're, at the mall and you saw two people arguing, you're like, oh my God, I remember when I had an argument about such and such. Instead of letting it linger, you have to say, well, how can I get over that quickly? Call my friend. Hey, it's bothering me. Can you just listen? But unfortunately, we live in a world that people don't want to listen. I know I'm off the beaten path as usual. But it's true. What I'm saying anyways. Anyways, as you know, I am a storyteller. I'm half Appalachian, and Appalachian people, we love to tell stories. It's in our DNA. So now we're going to go back to the subject at hand. So schools should not teach wokeism, and woke should not be on TV. Kids should be kids without someone trying to shove agenda down their throat. It is wrong what wokeism has been doing the last few years. And again, blame mainstream media, blame Zuckerberg, blame Elon Musk, blame the rich people doing what they're doing to profit off of insanity. Now, people like you and I, we go on social media, we converse, we have fun, we joke. That's okay. But when it gets to the point people are making videos about insane things, that's the type of people that should not be on the internet, should not be triggered because a man became president who cares about this country, who loves America. That's why I don't understand what the hate about Trump is. I don't understand from the woke's point of view or liberals' point of view why they hate a man who loves America. If these people don't love America, well, they can leave. In fact, I saw a video yesterday, people recording themselves going from Michigan to Windsor saying, hey, we're leaving America. We're going to get freedom in Canada. And I had to laugh. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, it's all for views. Look, I lived in Canada for about a year. I went to University of Western Ontario. I was a music major. And there's a hell of a lot of paperwork just to go to Canada. So you had to go to the embassy. And for me, because I grew up in Michigan, so I had to go to Chicago. And I had to prove that I'm a student there, show my acceptance letter from UWO. And I had to get a sheet stamped into my passport stating I cannot work to make money. So if you're going to Canada to get a job, well, I hope your passport states that you can work there, because it doesn't work that easily. You can live there for a certain amount of time, but you're not allowed to make money there. So these people are sitting there, there's so much freedom outside of America. Well, if you're American and you move to Canada or Mexico or Europe and you don't have a job already lined up, good luck. Because you're living in the land of the free. Just like if you're British. Oh, I hate the prime minister. I can't do what's going on there, and I'm going to get more work in America. Good luck. It's hard to get a visa here. I see it all the time in Bumble. A lot of these foreigners, I'm looking for a relationship so they can get their green card. Oh, it's a lot of people. It's interesting. But welcome to the world. It's crazy. Clown world is a great way to say it. So my question is, folks out there, when will wokeism end? Well, the solution is for a political coalition for the unwoke. And this coalition will be somewhat cross and for many uncomfortable. But much like the conservative fusionism, they ascended to the status of the mainstream Republican Party platform during the era when the right's disparate fractions all had their various reasons to oppose Soviet communism. So, too can a coalition of the unwoke be based around commonality of interests arrayed against a mutually shared foe. Liberals who stress the provisional nature of knowledge resist all-encompassing political claims and seek space for public error and disagreement have grounds for agreement with Jews and Christians and others who believe that men are sinful and fallen. Now, liberals have two options. Either they will dance to the tune of the Marxists and help bring Western democracy to an end, or they will seek to develop a pro-liberty alliance with the conservatives. Those of us on the traditional right must do all we can in all of our own unique capacities to accelerate this trend and welcome left liberals with open arms and a warm embrace. I mean, what do you think about that, people out there? I'm curious, because the imperative of the moment demands that left liberals join us in an alliance against the neo-Marxism of wokeness, cancel culture, and anti-racism. The survival of Western civilization quite literally depends on it. And yes, I brought in the anti-racism because do you know how many times we see videos on freaking TikTok and Instagram stating, white people are racist? Where the hell did we come up with this all of a sudden? Well, yeah, it was during the BLM movement. And I remember on my personal Facebook page at one point, people I have not spoken to in many, many years, and I probably will never see them again. And they claim they're Democrats, but I really think they've become liberal. Their minds are poisoned by mainstream media. And I was told if I don't follow the BLM ideology, I'm racist. I said, well, yeah, I know Black Lives Matter, but so do all lives. I'm Native American mixed. What about Native Americans? No one talks about us. In fact, don't we have a month about Native Americans? We don't celebrate it, do we? In fact, Native Americans are forgotten about the most out of all races. Blame mainstream media. Blame the politicians. It's sad the way the world has become, right? And anyways, I was unfriended by about 20 people back in the BLM days, and I didn't care because I believe all lives matter. And as we learned later on, the BLM was a marketing scheme because the women who founded it took the money and bought these mansions. See, at the end of the day, people, even though something is a trend, please look up facts. Please understand these trends is all about making money. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the world is a business transaction. And then I remember getting into a discussion about slavery and reparations. You know, that was a huge, huge topic a few years ago. And I was told because I'm white, my ancestors were probably slave owners. And so I responded with facts. And people who are woke, they go insane with facts because they don't want to believe the truth. And I said, do you realize before the Civil War happened, most of the slave owners in the South were black and Native American and mixed. 1% of the white population were slave owners. And people you think were white, well, they were mixed race. Mulatto was a terminology used back then. In fact, my Native American side, in the 1700s and early 1800s census records or tax records they had back then in North Carolina, they were known as mulattoes. But they weren't mulattoes. They were full-blooded Native American. I had to find a document from the day my fifth great grandfather, Julius Bunch. I found his father. His father was from the Pocasson tribe, swamp tribe. And they became Christian to save the land because Native Americans were kicked off. So a lot of the people that had Christian names, whether you're black or Hispanic or Native American, even if you're mixed, people learn in history, oh, those got to be white people. But when you really do the digging, you find out, wow, they weren't actually white. It doesn't matter. But this is how wrong history has become. And the irony of all this, before the civil rights movement, history books, a good majority of them, depending on what state, talked about this. And after the civil rights movement, education had changed. And as you know, history books kids have even today, you learn a small bit of history. And so this ideology that white people were all slave owners is bullshit. But that's what's being taught. And it's sad. History is constantly being changed and distorted because of media. And now social media is making it worse. They say the truth will set you free. The problem is people don't want to learn the truth. So their minds are bottled up with all this woke ideology that there is no truth. That Trump is bad man because media said so. And then people tell me, well, Trump did an insurrection on January 6th, right? Did he really? Did you read the full speech? Because nowhere he said go forth and march the Capitol. In fact, it was planned. You're saying, Salty, how do you know that? Well, common sense, my dear Watson. But also because when I worked in England in Parliament, there were two people, Luke Tomlinson and Otis Ferry. And they marched into Parliament with a sword because of the fox hunting bill. Yeah, I had an internship back then. And I watched it from the TV, from the office where I worked at. And I thought, wow, it's cool. So I knew them through polo because I was part of the polo world. I knew William and Harry, the Royals, and hung out with them back in 2004, right? And it was alleged, I still have the articles because I saved them and hung them up in my office here, that there was an inside job. Like people knew about it already. And it doesn't surprise me that January 6th happened. That was an inside job. In fact, I think there was proof, but media, or the mainstream media, did not want to show the truth. Because why? The truth is not profitable. Lies profit. And unfortunately, it will not change. I hope Trump can change the world, or at least the media world. Have a law made that media cannot put so much lies out that causes these protests, that causes people to have their minds warped. Because things need to change. The world has become so crazy. It's a laughing stock. All because the world is a business transaction. Now, I remember when Biden and Trump were running, right, for election, and Biden won. I remember Georgia, the state I live in, was red and it flipped to blue very quickly on, right? It never made sense. And we all knew the voting was rigged, but the media was like, oh, that's not rigged. And of course, the woke's like, oh, it's not rigged. And the Democrats were like, oh, it's not rigged. You guys are making it up. Oh, Trump is lying. It's like, look at the history of voting. How many times have presidents over the generations have stated that? It's happened. One I can remember fresh in my mind is the Bush-Gore election. In hindsight, Gore should have won that election, right? But Bush won. But it was rigged. The voting was 100% rigged for that. But we don't talk about that. And I'm glad Gore didn't win because I think he would have fucked up the country. He would not have been a great president. If you looked at his history, one, he was against pop music. There was a famous video on YouTube that I think from the 80s or early 90s, And all these artists, like the Twisted Sister, came in and said, hey, music is good for the soul. You know, you can't censor everything. Eminem makes fun of music censorship. You know, that one line in Slim Shady. And the FCC won't let me be. That line. Because it's true. Censorship was one of Gore's biggest things. Of course, he'd put that all in his infamous Lockbox SNL skit. But yeah, he had a Lockbox thing. All right, my lovelies, I'm going to end this podcast by saying, I hope you have a lovely day. Until next time, this is Salty Vixen. Goodbye.
Come and share with me. So let's chat about the highs, let's chat about the lows. In this cozy little corner, anything goes. Every sip tells a story, every word brings a smile. With every conversation, we'll go that extra mile.